Hi everyone, it's meteorologist Joe Chaffee on what's turned out to be a very nice Saturday across our area after we got rid of the morning clouds. Just going to start with a brief look at the tropics as we have the Hurricane Center acknowledging the remnants of Tropical Storm Beatrice that was in the Pacific, now the remnants in the Bay of Campeche. And while it does show signs of a little organization, the upper level winds with this are too strong, and they rate this as 0% chance of development. So why don't we take a look at the satellite view? And you can see down here, there's probably some semblance of some low-level turning here, but a lot of the clouds are getting blown away to the northeast, and that's because we do have these strong westerly winds across the upper atmosphere, and that is going to keep things from developing in the Gulf. And if we'll give you the wider view here on the satellite loop, and there's this upper air storm in western Texas, and it's having some impact. The circulation around here, the jet stream is basically like this. So you've got these strong upper level westerlies responsible for bringing the system up into the Gulf of Mexico, but at the same time, because of those strong winds, the system can't really get going. The thunderstorm tops develop, and as they build up, they hit those strong westerlies, and then they drop down. In the meantime, let me just freshen this loop up just a little bit here, and you can see it a bit better. And there's the turning here from the system in back through Texas and the disorganized mess that's in the Gulf. Meanwhile, here in the Northeast, this weather disturbance moved through this morning and offshore, and now we're enjoying a beautiful second half of the day going into this evening. Temperatures in the 70s, humidity levels nice and low. Just doesn't get much better than this for the early part of the month of June. In the west, as we take a look, there's some moisture streaming into the Pacific Northwest and into parts of California. You can see it here running northeastward into Idaho, but nothing really overly troublesome. So we're in good shape there. And the latest radar showing some showers and storms scattered around parts of Texas and the Gulf states. One of the things that's happening is with the moisture that's coming out of the Gulf of Mexico, it is enhancing some of the thunderstorms that you see across the central Gulf states and over Florida. And this will probably be the case again on Sunday and maybe even into Monday as well. So why don't we take a look at what the rest of the weekend holds? And we're going to start with the NAM model, and I'll roll it back. I think we're going to be fine in our area here through tomorrow afternoon, and it's not until tomorrow mid-afternoon you start to get a few showers coming into the Hudson Valley and into northeastern Pennsylvania. They come in early afternoon, and then they kind of extend down into northwest New Jersey, but they really don't get any further south than Route 78. It's dry through the rest of the state of New Jersey and down into Pennsylvania and Maryland. We do get some showers and thunderstorms that roll their way through Connecticut and parts of Long Island and in through the Hudson Valley and southern New England. But that batch with that weather system, that weather front, looks like it's going to stay north. Now, there's a bit more of a significant wave that develops on Monday, and it's from that we get into some showers and thunderstorms Monday afternoon. You can see them getting enhanced here this is for 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's a pretty widespread area. Here's 11 a.m. and here's 2 p.m. and that continues into Monday evening. Low pressure develops right along the New Jersey coast. This is the brand new late afternoon NAM model run, so we don't have it any further than 11 p.m. Monday night. So I'll switch over to the GFS and we'll go a little wider and take a look at what that holds. One of the issues going into Tuesday is going to be whether the low goes by to our south and whether we get into some kind of onshore flow. You can see there's lower pressure also in upstate New York, so everything's kind of getting stretched out. It doesn't really develop a strong onshore flow here for Tuesday, so as a result, we don't see a whole lot of rain. We see some, but that kind of sinks in later in the day as the winds turn more northeasterly. The low pulls out to the east, and then still some leftover precip on Wednesday in a few areas, some leftover showers, a bit of an onshore flow on Wednesday. Probably be a lot of clouds to deal with, but the rain doesn't look overly dramatic. And then weather conditions after that look to dry out a bit going into the end of the week and into next weekend. Another weather front will be approaching next Saturday night. And that's one thing in this pattern that we have, is that weather systems are moving along. So we are seeing the fact that we won't be able to get truly hot without with this progressive pattern that we seem to be in. Meanwhile, let's look at the West, because we do have, some scattered precip up through the Rockies and Plains in the middle of the week. And then another system approaches the Pacific Northwest with some showers, and that translates into some rain in the Rockies, and even some snow being shown here for early next weekend in parts of the northern Rockies, believe it or not. Some snow for early June into Idaho and parts of Montana. So it looks to me like there might be some kind of a trough developing in the West. We're going to take a look. And then after that, it looks pretty quiet going into the long range now that we're in the middle of June and beyond. Still producing some snow here on this model run on June 18th, if you want to believe it, in parts of the northern Rockies. Just amazing. Does happen from time to time. The upper air pattern, we will glance at that today. This is one of those periods now where we're just going to have to wait for either something unusual or a tropical storm to form for things to get truly, I guess, inspiring. But here we have our trough in the east pulling out. Here's what happens is, this upper low pulls out and it stretches, and you get this second trough that swings around. Meanwhile, you've got these systems that are trying to come into the west, ridge that builds up in between. And this is why we're going to have the weather we're going to see here as we move into Monday and Tuesday. That upper low drops into Pennsylvania and kind of sits along the East Coast through much of the week before it pulls out. There's probably going to be a lot of clouds during this period, I think, with this upper low the way it is. And meanwhile, going into next weekend, here's that trough in the west that comes in, undercuts the ridge a little bit. You still have troughing in the east, but you've got this deep trough in the west, so that would explain that cold air up in the northern Rockies. That's a pretty wound up upper low for this time of year. And then a bit of a ridge into the first part of the week of January. I always want to go to January. June 12th, only to be replaced by another trough in the east later the following week. So now we're at June 16th. And then that pulls out. And then it looks like it wants to go into a bit of a ridge position for the weekend of June 17th, 18th, and 19th. But that's so far down the road. Who knows if that's really going to be the case. So active weather to some degree, nothing overly crazy as we go through the next week or so. We'll watch to see what happens in the east, but I think the rest of the day, right through the daytime Sunday for most of my area, will be okay. Probably some showers coming in tomorrow afternoon in areas in northern Pennsylvania and on up into the Hudson Valley and southern New England, but they should stay north of New York City until very late in the afternoon or tomorrow night. Okay, folks, so have a great rest of your weekend. Website at meteorologistjoechaffe.com. Angry Ben, New York City goings on at nycweathernow.com. And thank you for subscribing to my YouTube channel. If you're new, please hit the little red subscribe button on the channel page, and you can get all the notifications about when new videos come up. And the subscription doesn't cost you a thing. It's free, and it will, as long as humanly possible, I will keep the subscriptions free on the YouTube channel. Okay, that's not a hint. I'm really going to keep it free. Okay, have a great rest of your Saturday and a great rest of your weekend.